I noticed the weird looks people were giving me as I walked down the hall. A few guys were even smiling and winking at me. Weird. Something was definitely wrong. I just hadn't figured it out yet. Well, whatever. I'll just pack up and go home. Before I could quietly wriggle myself out of the school's massive doors, Beck approached me.
Hey, beautiful.
He said while spinning around me, a gesture that I believed he thought was romantic.
Want to go out on a date with me tonight? We'd get pizza and ice cream and then eat them all up in my car while looking at the stars.
Beck wasn't all that, but he wasn't that bad either. Besides, I didn't have anything interesting to do tonight, so I decided to accept.
Dude, is that the best you can do?
Jake interrupted with a grin on his face.
Bro, don't kill my shine.
Jake ignored him and turned to me. He held my hand and kissed it.
Kat, I have a big-ass cinema in my house with chefs and cleaners obeying my every command. Spend the night with me instead, and I can assure you we'll have the whole night to ourselves. No one will dare interrupt us.
Huh? Why in the world would Jake, the school player, ever think that I'll want to go out with him? He may have been a millionaire, but he knew I hated him. While I was still trying to understand what was going on, 2 more guys arrived and asked me on a date again. They started shouting at each other, and in seconds, they were all fighting. What the heck was happening? One of my oldest friends, Grissom, walked up to me, and I prayed to God that he wasn't coming to do the same thing. He walked up to me and didn't even say a word. Instead, he turned me around, removed a paper that was stuck on my back, handed it to me, and walked away. I held the massive paper that had been previously stuck on my back and read, "I'm open to anything." I turned red as I held it up to my face. So this is why these guys were bugging me. I turned back and used my eyes to scan the halls in search of the culprit. She stood at the end of the hall in all her glory, smirking and watching the events that she had put in motion unfold. I walked up to her, then angrily pushed the paper down her throat. She didn't see this coming, so she stood confused as she tried to remove the paper from her mouth. "You'll pay for this, Sam." Even with a mouthful of paper, her smirk was still visible. It was almost as if she was telling me to bring it on, and my reply to that was, "Yes, I plan to." Hello, my name is Kat, and this is my story, revealing how I escaped bullying and antagonization in high school. But believe me, it doesn't end in a way that you'd ever expect. Be a dear and like this video before continuing with the story. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss all the amazing stories that we have lined up for you. I think my face must have still been red when I got home because my mother immediately noticed that something was wrong.
Honey, are you okay? Tell me what the problem is.
There's no problem, Ma. Nothing is wrong.
Come on, Katerina, you're visibly upset.
Ma, I just want to eat something and go to bed, okay? I need to rest a little bit so I can wake up at night and read. We have a big test tomorrow.
Sure, Catty, just know that I'm always here for you and you can tell me absolutely anything.
Of course, Ma. Thanks. Wait a minute. Why did that show of concern sound a bit sketchy? I spotted my mom's phone on the dining table and dived towards it. She noticed where I was looking and tried to block me, but I was too fast for her. Once the phone was in my hand, I clicked the home button. To my surprise, the first thing I saw was a picture of me in school with the paper stuck on my back. Ah, Ma!
Don't, me. You don't tell me anything about your life. I have to find out from your classmates?
Well, that's because it wasn't true, Ma. It was a prank.
Oh, so you're still,
Yes, I am, Ma. We don't need to talk about it. Who sent you this picture, though?
A classmate of yours. Her name is Sam?
Okay, Sam had gone too far this time. Sam and I had always been in kind of an invisible competition. This was because people always compared us to each other. Not only did we look alike, we always had the same grades and were both equally popular. It became like a Beyonce and Rihanna thing. Our fans were always wondering who did one thing better than the other. Who wore it best? Who danced best? Who dates the best guys? Who has better friends? Who has richer parents? Who did this and who did that? We hardly ever spoke to each other, but we knew what was going on behind the scenes. I thought that we'd go on ignoring each other until we graduated, but Sam suddenly started pranking me. She put gum on my chair when I'm not looking and pretend to be unaware of the situation when I start looking for the culprit. A lot of my clothes were destroyed as a result of this prank. She'd tear my books, put spiders in my shoes, put rats in my locker and school bag, hide my outfit before gym session was over, and so many other things. I tried my best to ignore her, hoping she'd eventually stop, but the pranks just kept getting worse with each passing day. I had to stop her in her tracks before the whole thing could blow out of proportion, and I could only do this by playing the winning prank. I know know she thought she was doing a good job with her pranks, but everyone knows that you shouldn't prank psychos, simply because you can't beat them at a game they invented. I'm not a psycho, though. Wink. It was a hot Wednesday afternoon, and we just finished cheerleading practice. With an evil smile on my face, I watched Sam enter the bathroom to clean up. A few minutes later, we heard a shriek and all rushed to the bathroom to see what was wrong. The sight was even more amusing than I had initially imagined. Sam's long, beautiful hair was all gone. I mean, who still falls for the old Nair and shampoo trick in this century? Well, she did, but I pretended to be as shocked as everyone else. We both shared a look, and it was obvious that she knew I did it, but she didn't say anything. I wasn't done with her, though. I had more pranks up my sleeve. I'd put gum in her hair when she's sleeping, fill her bags with stones instead of books, and much more. The next day, Sam came to school with a wig which I accidentally removed while walking past her in class. The guys who were still unaware of Sam's baldness at this time were astounded. They started laughing and throwing spitballs on her bald head, and eventually slapping it, despite the fact that I was begging them to stop as it was enough. Sam left school immediately, crying and shaking, leaving her wig on the floor. Feeling bad, I picked up the wig and followed her, hoping to apologize, but what I saw in her house made me even more angry. Sam was always begging about her mansion and rich parents. She insulted everyone that she felt was below her and always called me poor because I came from a middle-class family. But I had followed her home for the first time, and the home that was in front of me was a trailer. I was so mad. The next day, I gave Sam a grand welcome and apologized to her, giving her back her wig and telling her to use it instead of the new one she came with, because the old one made her look prettier. Sam went to the bathroom and came back with the old wig, smiling and thanking me, but she was in for a surprise. A few minutes later, tiny ants started crawling out of the wig, filling Sam's face. She tried to remove the wig, but it was stuck on her head. It couldn't come off. She tried to run to the bathroom, but she couldn't stand up. She was glued to her seat. She started scratching her face profusely, injuring her whole face. She struggled to stand up from her seat, but ended up tearing her skirt in the process, exposing her undies. She managed to run to the bathroom without her skirt, while the whole class laughed and cheered. I just sat at my desk in the corner, silently watching the whole thing unfold. Sam was a bully. She had hurt everyone in the class one way or the other, so everyone was glad that she was finally getting a taste of her own poison. Unfortunately, an ambulance had to be called because Sam had scratched her face badly. The ants left bumps all over her face, and only doctors could carefully remove the wig from her head. I went to Sam's hospital room to gloat, but she told me to get out. I refused, and since no staff was around, no one could chase me out. I explained that I knew about her trailer house, and that if she didn't want the whole school to find out, she'd have to become my slave and do whatever I wanted. She was shocked and scared, but had no other choice than to accept. This was how Sam became my personal guinea pig. Unfortunately, she gave up after a month, making me mad. I decided to sneak to her trailer and take pictures to show the whole school, but on getting there, I noticed that Sam's mother was mentally unwell, and Sam was the one paying her bills. They noticed me perched on the window and invited me in. Sam explained that she was only mean and pretending to be rich because the school would kick her out if they knew that she was the breadwinner of the family. She was a famous YouTuber and had enough money to buy a mansion, but she couldn't because all her millions were going into giving her mother the best treatment possible. She had to lie about being rich and be mean to people because that was what was selling her brand and merchandise on YouTube. Running around being my slave stopped her from recording YouTube videos, so she was quitting the school and focusing on YouTube. I left without uttering a word, mostly because I didn't know what to say. On getting home, I decided to open up to my mother about everything and ask her what the best action to take was. My mother was angry with me at first, but she was also glad that I was remorseful, so she advised me to apologize to Sam and keep her secret. The next day, I walked up to Sam and apologized. To my utter disbelief, she rejected my apology and gave me a condition to earn her forgiveness. "What is it?" I asked, rolling my eyes.
First of all, you're going to use shaving cream on your hair so you'd have a bald, shining head, just like mine.
You're kidding, right?
You wish. And that's not even all.
There's no way I'm gonna do that. She ignored me and kept on talking.
After shaving your head, you're going to walk around the school in your undies while showcasing your bald head. This is how you can make up for my embarrassment.
I laughed in her face and left. When I got home, I told my mom about the conditions that Sam had given me, and she still encouraged me to do it. I agreed. While my mother was shaving my head, something occurred to me. Ma, what if this is still a prank that I'm falling for? What if Sam has a more embarrassing prank up her sleeve?
Well, we'll always have in mind that you tried to be the bigger person.
I walked out from Mom's car the next day with the school t-shirt, my bald head, my undies, and my school shoes. Everyone was so shocked, it looked like their eyes were about to fall off. Sam looked even more shocked. She obviously didn't think that I was actually going to go through with it. Everyone started insulting me and taking pictures, though. It was so bad that I didn't even know when I started crying. When Sam noticed this, she removed her wig and skirt and joined me. This made me feel better, and we shortly started playing and taking pictures for social media. This made a lot of other students join in the fun. It started with Grissom. He took off his trousers and left just his boxers on. He took pictures with us and posted it on Instagram with the hashtag #SchoolUnderwearDay. Next thing, so many other people